COVID did not attack children like it did adults.
Hmm.
So that's when they came out with the vaccines for children. I kept telling my patients, you don't need it. COVID, the mortality for COVID is 1 in 2 million. You know what that is? Is irrelevant. Is, of course, if you are that one, if your child is that one, I can understand that, but still, statistically, it's so insignificant that it should have never been proposed for children.
Welcome to One Interview, One World. This is Lainey Kay, and this is a show about interviewing people from all walks of life because everyone has a story to share and we can all learn from each other. I hope you enjoy listening. Today I'm with Dr. Samara P. Cardenas, and she is originally from Cuba, but she has been in the United States for a long time as a practicing pediatrician for over 45 years, and she has such an interesting story to share with us about how government and big pharma have had a say in how she treats her patients. So I'm happy for her to be open today and sharing her story with us and enlightening people about this because I think a lot of people aren't aware of how much control government has over a doctor being paid. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your story with us.
Thanks for having me. This is really a great opportunity, I think, for me. So I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. I would love to know a little bit about your background. I find it fascinating that you are from Cuba. And then, how did you become a doctor?
My father always wanted me to be a doctor. So that was like ingrained since I was a little girl. When Castro took over and things got very bad slowly in the country, and we decided to come over. We came to the States in 1967. I came in, and I was 19 then. I was in high school. I finished the last year of high school in the States, and then I went to college, and I had an interesting little thing about learning English. My mother, bless her heart, she's passed a long time ago. Uh, she took me I got to the States on a Friday, and on Monday, my mom drove me to high school. I needed to go into the last year of high school, and I didn't know any English. And she registered me and left me.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, Mom, I don't know English. And she said, Well, you learn. And I did. Did I learn? Which goes to how much we try to help with languages, other people. We should just let them struggle a little bit and learn English. But that's my story, and it worked really good for me. So I was in Texas for a couple of years. Then my ex-husband, I was married in Cuba. I married when I was 16.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then I came first, then he came, and then there was no jobs in El Paso, Texas, where my parents were. And we flipped a coin and came to California. California won. And we flipped between New York and California, and
Oh my
California won.
God.
So I finished college, and I got here in 67. In 71, I applied to medical school, and I was lucky enough to get accepted at UCI, where I did my medical school. And I did my internship and residency also at UCI. So I was there for 7 years, essentially.
That is amazing. I mean, it's such an amazing story that you didn't speak English and then
Yeah,
you're
that was hard.
and then you were able to quickly you're obviously very smart. You're able to quickly pick up on the
Thank
language
you.
and able to learn in the language. That's a whole nother thing on top of just understanding,
Yeah.
or communicating. Oh my gosh.
You know, brain is a very powerful thing, and if you train it and make it do it, your brain will do almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to not do enough to motivate our brain and to make it work as much as it can. And it's just easier to listen to your own language, but I'm not going to be speaking that all the time. So it was good that my mom forced me, and I think everybody can do it if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So, do you have any interesting experiences that you had being, who you are going through the medical school and being in California, being, English as your second language?
Yeah. Uh, when I was in medical school in my second year, I had my first son.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. 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 So I had a baby, in my second year of medical school, which was awesome. He just turned 51.
Oh,
Yeah, his birthday was yesterday. No,
oh,
the day before, the 12th. And that was a little difficult, but my mom was my babysitter, and she paid back making me learn so fast. She was my babysitter for my three sons. So
oh. Well, that certainly helps.
I could not have done it without her.
No.
And my ex was with the boy at night, so he had an introduction to parenthood, which was he was a very good dad in
Yeah.
that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had that one in when I was on my second year. I was whatever 25. I finished my 7 years. I graduated, and I went to work for another doctor in the community that he was a general practitioner, and I went as his pediatrician. I worked for 3 months, and I realized that I wanted to have my own office. So I set up, got a loan from a bank. Things were much more inexpensive to do back in 1979.
Hmm.
So I started my practice, and slowly patients started coming to me. And as time went by, I saw the mom with the baby, the grandchildren later on. So it's always been by word of mouth, and I've been very happy with my practice. It was mainly a low income Hispanic practice. I will say 95% of my patients on the first 10, 15 years only spoke Spanish. Then as time went by, I started getting some patients, mainly the children of my mom's, those first children. They learned the language, so they came back with their children, and those will speak English. But it was a good thing that I spoke Spanish. That came very handy. I was the first Spanish speaking pediatrician in Anaheim.
Wow.
So yeah, so that made my office flourish very quickly,
Hmm.
very, very quickly.
That was
And
very smart.
yeah, it was a good time. It was the right time. There are
Hmm.
no coincidences. Things happen for a reason,
Yes.
and I was lucky. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
I have a question then in regards to children's vaccinations. How is your feeling about that? Like going through medical school, you're taught, to believe in them and do
yeah.
them.
Yes, I was fully indoctrinated by pharma.
Hmm.
That's the only way I can put it, because I believe what I was taught. I believe that everything was great. And it wasn't until, I mean, my children got vaccinated. My grandchildren, not so much, um, because they are younger.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, at the beginning, I thought it was very important. So I followed the rules. And it wasn't until COVID that the rules had to change.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed. And
So,
that's why I don't have a job.
well, did you? So I know that in the 70s and the 80s they weren't giving as many shots, as many vaccinations, and then they just continually add and add and add. And what was your feeling about that?
Well, they kept telling us that they were new diseases, and new vaccines to fight those diseases. Uh, in the 70s and 80s, when my children were little, by the time they were teenagers, they had only like 10 different vaccines. Now a teenager has had more than 30. So the difference is tremendous. And there was a lot of questions about autism. It started coming out with the measles and the mumps and rubella vaccine. And then they showed us some studies that was not true. And I was a believer. So I kept on vaccinating.
Mm-hmm. Did you
I
did you have parents that came in with reservations, or did you experience where a child had reactions?
Being in California, I was told there were no options. Every child had to be vaccinated. And yes, I had patients that questioned, and I will give them to read what I had read that sounded like if what we were doing was a good thing. I guess I did not listen to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who had been arguing about vaccines for like the last 30 years. But I'm listening to him now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Did,
yeah.
did you feel like you ever encountered any children that had like a bad reaction?
I had some patients that had maybe bad reactions. I don't have any that I could pinpoint that will had autism, and I could see that it was someone that I had vaccinated. So in that sense, I was lucky. I didn't see it firsthand.
That's
But
good.
we definitely had sometimes some reactions. I remember when I think it was Gardasil, the one for the virus that supposedly gives you cervical cancer. And what the main reaction I saw with that was patients will literally faint.
Oh,
I had a child, a 14, 15-year-old girl, that we gave her the shot. She was sitting on the table and she fell. She passed out and just fell down to the ground, broke her mouth. She had to have dental work.
oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah, yeah. But, they told me it's just a little side effect. And I believe them.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard because that's what you were taught, and
Yeah.
yeah, and you're,
Yeah. They taught me about ampicillin, which was good for an infection. So
Mhm.
why will I not
Right.
think that they're telling me the truth? Why should I think that there was more studies to be done that were not done? We used to have a lot of the drug reps coming by the office, giving us all this information that everything was perfect.
Yes.
What do you do? Yeah,
Right. And it's definitely biased if it's only coming from the companies that are making the product. Yeah.
and making the money.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
That
what made you have a change of heart then, or an
COVID,
awakening
oh,
about it?
it was COVID.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, COVID started and things just didn't sound right before the vaccines were even out. Something was wrong on what they were telling us. Too many people dying. Uh, I could start beginning to hear about medications, and the government was refusing to use those medications, and more people keep dying. And then one of the medications, actually, one of my sons had 3 negative COVID tests, but I know he had COVID. And he was in my living room uh, for 3 days before he was really sick. He lost 10 pounds on a weekend.
Jeez.
He was ill. And by Sunday night, I think it was, I listened to him again, and I heard he had pneumonia. And I said to him, tomorrow morning, we're going to go get an x ray. And the x ray showed he had pneumonia. And I said, I know you don't know enough about what I'm going to give you, but you need to trust me. So I gave him ivermectin. And by the next morning on Tuesday, he woke up without a fever and asked me for food. I, to me, it was a miracle because I had just given him like about 27 milligrams of that thing sometime during the Monday morning after we come back from the x-rays.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was a miracle because I have never seen anyone get so fast well from a viral illness being so sick.
Yes.
So I said, oh, something is really wrong. They're telling me not to use this, but I got these great results. I gave him 5 days. He was back to work, and he had negative COVID testing. So I don't believe that the way the test was run was proper either.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that I didn't have to go to the hospital. I didn't have to do anything. I just gave him ivermectin.
Mm-hmm. And
And to me, it's a miracle drug.
what was your experience with ivermectin before that?
I never used it. I didn't even know it existed. It did the paper insert in the boxes
Mm-hmm.
tells you all about parasites, which is true. Actually, in a lot of other countries, because I mentioned it to one of my sons who lives in South America, and he says they use it there for scabies all the time. I was like, okay, so if it's used all over the world, it cannot be as bad as they're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could see it on in my own house guinea pig,
Yeah.
and got so well that I something is wrong. Something is
Mm-hmm.
wrong. They're lying to me. They're
Mm-hmm.
telling me this is not a good medication, and I get these results. Of course, it was only one person,
Right.
but that's how you start doing tests, and that's how you start doing protocols of new medications. You just get new data from people that took it.
Mm-hmm. How
Yeah.
how did you become aware about it then? How did you know about it?
I had been online looking at a group called Frontline Critical COVID Alliance, and they were all using ivermectin with hydroxychloroquine, which everybody laughed at Mr. Trump because he said about hydroxychloroquine back in 2019 or 2020, before he left. Um, and everybody laughed at him. And it seems to be the two drugs of choice.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had, they came out with very well developed protocols on how to use, what to use. So I started reading that, and then when my son got sick, I had the background of, yeah,
Okay.
I was one of the lucky people that was reading the appropriate information.
Right. How did this affect going through the COVID experience? How did it affect your business?
Well, it didn't, because COVID did not attack children like it did adults.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when they came out with the vaccines for children. I kept telling my patients, you don't need it. COVID, the mortality for COVID is 1 in 2 million. You know what that is? Is irrelevant. Is, of course, if you are that one, if your child is that one, I can understand that, but still, statistically, it's so insignificant that it should have never been proposed for children. So that was disturbing, but I kept on taking care of the patients the same way I was doing it. It did not bother me. And then all of a sudden, September 2023, I got a letter from VFC. VFC is Vaccines for Children. Since I work with a very low income population, mainly Medicaid, um, two big group in Southern California is called CalOptima, and CHOC is the main, the Children's Hospital is the main group within CalOptima. And the other group that I mentioned, Vaccines for Children, sent me a letter that I had to get COVID vaccine and start administering down to 6 months. And I said, I don't want to. I'm not going to do it. So a few weeks went by, and back in, I think it was the end, middle of October or so, my office manager is going to put our new order that we need for the vaccines we needed. And they said no, she couldn't make it go through. And she called, and they told her, and I heard it because she puts it on the speaker. They said, no, you have to order COVID. If not, you cannot get the other vaccines.
Wow.
And I said, no, that's just not going to happen. That just cannot happen. I left Cuba for freedom. I cannot be treated this way. This cannot be. This could not. This is not the United States. We can. This cannot happen. And I sent them a letter, and I said, I just cannot do this. I cannot do harm. I
Mm-hmm.
understand my contract says I have to do it, but my contract cannot make me do something that is harmful.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent them a letter that by in 3 months I will no longer be part of their program. And then I sent letters to CalOptima and Chalk saying that what I had done, that I was not going to be giving shots anymore because I didn't want to have COVID in my office. And I left money because they were beginning to give us like $40 every time you gave a shot of COVID.
Just the COVID shot or any shot?
Just the COVID shot. We
Wow.
got paid, yeah, aside from whatever money they paid us, which was about $9 per shot, because they gave us the shots for free.
Mm-hmm.
So we only could charge $9 for having, for the syringe, for the refrigeration. It didn't pay anything. $9 didn't pay for all that I had to pay, but I felt that it was a needed service, what I had been providing for years. So all of a sudden, I got phone calls from everybody. you can't do that. I said, no, I'm not going to have COVID. And if I cannot have COVID and you don't let me have the others, I'm done. No more shots in my office. I had a lot of good response from a lot of patients. However, when the time came and they canceled me totally, they were assigned to other doctors and they left. They ran away. So it's been a very difficult time. But I knew what I was doing. I was not, this time I knew that what I was doing was going to hurt me financially. Uh, but I did not know that the other shots were terrible. I thought I was taught the right things in medical school and in training. When the COVID came, I realized something was wrong and I just could not do harm.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of my saying when you graduate, that's what you say. I will do no harm.
Right.
And they wanted me because it was in my contract
Mm-hmm.
to do whatever yeah, my contract says that I have to give whatever the government tells me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I had to just face the consequences.
So you didn't give any COVID shots at all to children?
No,
None.
no, no,
Okay.
no. Nobody in my family has COVID shots.
Mm-hmm.
Not my sons, not my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my friends that I was able to tell them and they listened don't have shots either. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It was my very own campaign against COVID immunity shot. Yeah,
So
it
what
had to be
what
done.
made you aware that there were problems with the shots? How did you become aware then?
YouTube had a lot, Telegram. There were a lot of, by then you start looking at what we have, which is electronics. And it's incredible, all the stuff that was coming out of problems with the COVID shots that could not be ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so as you do that, then you learn more, then you look for more, and it becomes a new learning area for me that I had never thought I had to learn again. But it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to see how it was such a the problems with teenage boys with the myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart, and they will quote, "Oh no, it goes away." I said, "Yeah, it goes away, but what is the damage that it did to the hearts? We don't know. We'll have to wait 20 years when those children become adults." And it's mainly teenage boys. When they become adults, uh, what are they going to have? Are they going to have heart attacks, congestive heart failure? What's going to be the problem early on? And they will.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little girl of 7 years that came to me after she had had a stroke.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, stroke. She had 3 COVID shots.
Oh my gosh.
And
At age 7, she had 3 COVID shots?
yeah, yeah, and the mom was bringing her to me because she had heard that there was this doctor that didn't like COVID. So she was medical and she came and paid me the visit uh, because she will change later, but she needed someone to tell her. The daughter had been already hospitalized at Chalk. She had a seizure, she had a stroke, and the only thing that you can really look at was the fact that she probably had a clot
Mm-hmm.
that gave her the bleed. And no one mentioned at Chalk anything that not even suggest that It could be from the COVID vaccine.
But
It's so
the mom felt that it was.
the mom felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, she came, the dad came too, and they were really, really upset. And I said, well, it is what it is, and we'll just have to go from here on and see what they can help you with. And she kept coming for a while I was in the office. She kept coming and seeing me as a private patient, even though I could not see CalOptima patients anymore because she didn't trust the other patients, the other doctors.
Mm-hmm.
But, I had to close the office, so I can't see her anymore. So I don't know how she's doing. It's kind of sad.
So basically, you cannot see any pediatric patients because you don't agree to give the COVID shots. And they want
Actually,
them
yes.
as early as 6 months old, which
Yeah.
seems crazy.
Yeah.
And
It is.
I think what another thing that bothers me is that they want you to do it like once a year. Continue
Oh,
to,
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like the flu shot.
right.
Is conversations from pharma that they are going to put them together. The
Yeah, I
flu
think
shot.
I have heard that.
And that's scary because a lot of people still think that the flu is okay to take.
Right. Yeah.
And I wouldn't take it either. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have learned a lot about shots because my oldest had reactions, and
Oh, okay.
and so I mean they weren't like long term reactions, but like immediate reactions where he was screaming and
Oh,
unconsolable, and then he was like lethargic afterwards for probably like a day or two, and I'm like, this doesn't seem right,
this
this is
doesn't. Yeah.
scary. And so
How old is your
I
son
did a
now?
lot of research then.
How old is your son?
He's 30 now. Yeah.
Oh, he's a grown up. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was in that age that it was in the late 80s, beginning 90s, where they didn't have that many shots.
Yeah.
So he was lucky. He
Yeah.
was lucky. Yeah.
He was born in 94. But after that, I did so much research about it, and I still do research about it, and I don't trust them, and it's really hard because everybody was so indoctrinated,
Yes.
to take the shots. They all believe that this is the right thing to do, and there was no other choice, and that was the most frustrating part from the governments around the world,
Yeah.
basically saying that this is the only answer and nothing else works.
And then you will get the COVID shots, and 2 weeks later, you will get COVID again. So far, knock on wood, I haven't had COVID. Maybe I'll have it tomorrow, but um, every all my friends that have had the COVID shots have had COVID several times after. And I said, why do you even keep taking the test? You're not going to do any different. You're going to try to work up on in your immune system and just let it go. Um, we're not seeing a lot of the bad cases that we're seeing at the beginning, but I think is because a lot of people have been listening and trying to build up their immune system,
Mm-hmm.
which I think everybody should be taking tons of vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc if they can take it. And it's all over the counter medicine, so you can just get it.
Right.
And honey and garlic and all sorts of things that have nothing to do with medicine, which is what I'm trying to learn now. Um, I actually told two patients yesterday because I still have patients that call me, and I'm charging $25 for a phone consultation, and they're so sweet. They prefer my opinion to their
Absolutely.
doctor, so it
Yeah.
makes me feel really good. But um, I had listened to a lady talk about onions in your socks. for
Mm-hmm.
cough. And I thought she was crazy, but the first mom I told her, she said, "You think that will work instead of medicine?" And I said, "I don't know, but let's try it. And if not, call me." Well, she hasn't called me, and this is 48 hours. And the other one I told her yesterday, she says, "Oh, I do that to my kids. I've done that. My mom used to make me do that to my kids." Like, oh, so I'm not really as crazy as I thought I was. So that's it's there's a lot of ways to keep yourself healthy without having to have medications.
Yeah. Oh, I just feel like the generation, like my mom, her generation, they were so taught that they needed a pill whenever they're sick.
Yes,
Whenever they're not
absolutely.
feeling good, I need to go to the doctor and they're going to give me a pill. And so
Yeah.
it's so
Or give
indoctrinated.
me a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do feel that we need to follow our intuition, because I did not feel comfortable about giving shots to my kids, and yet, I did it. And
Yeah.
if I would have followed the intuition, or if I would have been more aware, after I became aware, I didn't do all of them. But
Yeah.
now I just feel like it's so hard for. I mean, you have to stand up as a parent, and you have to stand up as a person making your own decisions, and not feel like you have to
Exactly.
do what they're telling you have to do. Yeah.
The problem is in California, they're giving us a hard time to give medical exemptions
Mm-hmm,
to children
mm-hmm,
for school.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of patients said, "But doc, I have to work. I have to give them the shots." Said, "I understand. I mean, what can I tell you? You need to go to work
Yeah. And
because
there
otherwise
are
you're not, yeah, homeschool."
right, that's an option. Or you don't live in California, you go to another state that gives you more freedom. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. But it's kind of hard
It
because
is.
a lot of my older families are immigrants like I am. And California has a lot of goodies for immigrants nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So they get a lot of, they get medical care, they get help with housing, they get a lot of stuff. It's a good state for when you are just coming from another country. You can use it to better yourself, not just to live out of it. That's my political hat coming on, but I wish because some of us are immigrants and you can make it in the United States, but you gotta work hard and and you can't just sit around and take the freebies. But that's it's easier to take what is handed to you than work hard many hours because there's a lot of immigrants that work many hours.
Right,
uh, yeah, those are not the criminals that have come lately. It was the last 2 3 years that we've had a horrible influx of horrible people that were not even from the Hispanic countries, which is what we were used to. These people are coming from all sorts of other areas, all coming through Mexico. Why? What's going on? But hopefully Trump is there now. We're going to stop this from happening more. I
right,
hope.
right. So,
Yeah.
what is your opinion about the new delivery system that they're using, the mRNA? Have you researched that?
Well, that's the mRNA. That's the one that they throw out this vaccine so quickly, and what worries me is it goes into the cell. It is a different thing. The spike protein that is produced by it's totally different. I don't think they've had enough time to research the problems. And that's what we had with the prior vaccines. They were not really tested as, even though there were years that they will tell you that they were doing the testing 4 or 5 years before they came out into to the market. But if you look at some of the information we've seen, they were actually cooking the numbers so the things will come out right. There's a
Mhm.
couple of documentaries that put that out that are really worth looking for and watching them. So the mRNA, I don't know enough. I have heard that they want to incorporate the mRNA technique into a lot of the other live vaccines. And it kind of worries me, but I don't think, unless we take really full control of big pharma and we do these studies. We had studies done on COVID and the results were bad, and we send it out anyway. So I think that's what needs to happen, is do these studies and have good results that can prove that it might be a good thing. Or, on the other hand, just let your body heal,
Mhm.
which we tend not to.
Right.
We say we don't want vaccines, or we just want medicines, and then we go and we drink a big can of soda and have chips for lunch, and you eat things that are harmful to your body.
Right.
So we need to, and I'm really looking forward to the new CEO or president or director of HHS, because I think nutrition is a very important part of all the problems we have.
Mhm.
So we'll just have to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, A little thing about the government and health. Uh, Back in 2012, I was a board member for CHOC, and then I applied to be and was accepted to be a board member for CalOptima, the Medicaid organization. And my main thing was I wanted to do a good obesity program because we had a lot of children in that program, and 50 or 60% are obese, not just a little overweight, no, just totally obese. I was there for 4 years, and I was not able to get anything off the ground in 4 years. They were always going to do another study, spend more money, that we're finding out is something they have done very well on everything. And nothing that I wanted to do. I just wanted to do a simple obesity diet plan, exercise, all of the good things that I was trying to do with my patients, but in a larger scale. I couldn't. I couldn't. And it
Do
was
you think, I don't know if they really have this mentality, but it really makes you wonder that they're like, but then we wouldn't have any patients to take care of. Is that like the motivation behind things, you know?
I don't think so. I think it's more out of not knowing that the money you are doing these studies is not your money, it's taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
And if you have to pull out $10,000 to do this study, you'll think about it. I remember once we had the ABA programs, which is for autistic children, is a type of therapy that is done for them. Uh, they wanted to get new bids to get a cheaper group to do the ABA therapy. And I had words with one of the other members who happened to be one of the supervisors on the board of CalOptima. And he said that he we needed to do that and that needed to be done that way, and I was out of line and blah blah blah. Well, Fast forward, I did leave after that meeting, a couple of meetings later. I just couldn't take that person specifically. Well, that person was just indicted for channeling money from the supervisors to his daughter's business. And we're talking about millions. So all this is what anybody in power is doing. I don't think they are feeling not knowing or want to have more. No, they just want to use the money for things that will help them. And it's kind of sad to say that, but
Right.
I see it more and more. And don't haven't we seen it now lately?
Right.
All this wasted money. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I am happy that they have that the Trump administration is dealing with this, and hopefully things will change for the better. I want to point out that Robert F. Kennedy, he runs an organization called Children's Health Defense, and so that's like
Yes.
a really good organization to do research on vaccinations and understanding about them. And also, ICanDecide.org is another one because they will show you that there really hasn't been research done on the children's vaccinations.
I can't decide.
I can decide.org.
Okay, I will look into that one. I have not. I do see Children's Defense Fund. He doesn't run it anymore, but he was the founder, and I wish I would have listened to it 30 years ago when he started almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, and then maybe I wonder if it's only recently that they cracked down on the doctors about giving the shots. Like 10 years ago, would they have been telling you needed to give the shots even 10 years ago? Or is it?
No, 10 years ago, yes.
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago, no.
Mm-hmm.
They started by giving us, the government will give us guidelines that we had to follow. And there was a monetary thing if we follow the guidelines. It was not only on vaccinations, it was on treatments for asthma. You had to have certain medications you needed to use. I'm an asthma freak, so I followed everything, and I was very happy that my patients did very well because I will get referrals from other patients because I cure their asthma. No, I use a lot of drugs and get them clear. But they were guidelines, and they will subsidize a certain amount of money if you came above a certain level. And it was all guidelines from the government, from the feds, that they transpired down to California, and then we took it for a ride because we make everything bigger and better in California. Yeah, but yeah, but it's a lot of monetary subsidies for the doctors
Mm-hmm.
that we did not have 30 years ago.
And
But
also, in regards to, government controlling, what you can and can't do, there isn't that many independent doctors. Like they're working for big organizations now that then they really are controlled by what they can do and can't do.
exactly, I was one of the last dinosaurs because there's, I think about one or two other single solo pediatricians in the area, but they have nurse practitioners and this and or PAs. I didn't have any of that. I was just me, myself, and I, because I felt that way is my office and I can follow directions. And look where it got me with no office. But yeah, but it is the new doctors going to the big institutions. They look at it as it's easier. The institutions have the computers, it's all set up. I just come in, work, and go home. But you're not your own person. You are another sheep in this. You cannot be a lion or a wolf. You will be a sheep because they really have to follow. They have to follow whatever they give them, whatever guidelines they give them. They have to treat the patient that way. They cannot not go out of the plans that the organization has
Mm-hmm.
because they write them up, and as time goes by, you get too many write-ups, you get fired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Currently, you're still like a practicing doctor, a pediatrician, so you can still work with patients, but you just currently are doing it through like Zoom calls or over the phone.
Right. Yeah, I my license is still going. My all my other things, my DEA, my numbers, all of that is in good terms. But I just don't have a local place to practice
Do you,
because I couldn't afford it. I mean, in August, I put $1,000 in the bank. My rent was 3,400. I was going to have to start getting off money from my retirement, and I could not afford to do that because I'm going to live 20 more years at least. I'm 76. I want to make it to 96.
and beyond and beyond.
Yeah, I'm beyond if I can. Yeah,
Do you
as
only
long as my health is good.
right? Do you only work with children, or do you work with all ages?
No, I can only work with children at this moment because we pay malpractice insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is for pediatrics. To have adults, I will have to pay almost double of what I'm paying. And I thought of doing it at this last moment when things were not looking good. I
Mm-hmm.
thought maybe I can see adults, but I was going to have to pay too much. And in like about a couple of months, I had three adults called to make an appointment. I said, no,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot. So
Yeah.
didn't go with it. I wish I could, just simple things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's too costly.
Mm-hmm.
I have applied, and I actually after when we finish talking today, I will go play on my new patient. I have a new medical group called Gold Care,
Mm-hmm.
set up by Simone Gold. Simone Gold is a California physician who was giving a speech on January 6, 2020. And she got taken in with all the, over there, she was in Washington, and she got put in jail for a few months. Yeah, now that she's come out, she's a very active doctor, and she set up this group that I could probably maybe see adults too, but it's all on telemedicine. So I
Mm-hmm.
got to play with they gave me a patient to play with. So I could just learn their system, which is different to my computer system.
Yeah.
So I hope that I start seeing patients on that system soon.
Very good. That's called goldcare.com, right?
Goldcare.com. Yeah,
Okay. And
goldcare.com.
if people wanted to contact you directly to see their children or even to have just a consultation, how would they reach out to you?
They can reach out to the same number I used to have. Maybe what I'll do is, can you put it at the bottom of,
You could say it, it will show, I think.
okay, 714-535-6419. That number still comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that number since uh, April 16, 1979. So I'm not going to give it up. Yeah, yeah.
And so they can do Zoom calls with you. They would set it or a phone call with you.
Phone calls with me.
Mhm.
I haven't set up, I don't know how to do I might have to talk with you so you can tell me how I can do this Zoom. Um, However, a lot of my old patients don't even have a computer at home. So to them, a phone was totally fine. And I just charged $25 for those that were my patients before. So it's
Mhm.
not a big deal. If I see a new one, because I did a medical exemption for a little girl, and I charge 50 something.
Which is extremely reasonable in my.
Yeah, it is, but I know the population that we have in the area. I cannot charge more. It would
Mhm.
be illogical.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
gotta do what's best.
Well, thank you for having such a caring heart and for sharing about what you went through. Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Samara P. Cardenas. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, I'm real happy to have done this with you.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that you shared your story with us. I hope it touches other people. I'm sure it will.
I hope so.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.